Hey guys, I know I told you there was only one video this week, but I forgot I only did half the lecture. So this will be quick. I want to post it and get it up so we can stay on track. I don't know why I forgot that. Anyway, life goes on. All right, so we're going to finish kind of chatting about what we were talking about last class, how to set up a government. I've got another assignment that I'll post at the end of this lecture, and Betsy is with me today, so sorry if I'm going to try to keep her off camera so it won't be distracting, but she's a little wiggly this morning. All right, so politics and economics. Politics, or economics, I don't know. I never really took an economics class. Sorry, things are popping up all over my screen. I never took an economics class. I wasn't like an economics major. I was a journalism major. I think I had like the required economics class that you had to take in undergrad. Also, sorry, this is still on here. Hopefully that'll come off soon and it won't be so distracting. I took like my required economics class, but I never really thought much else about it until I started working in politics, and economics is hugely important. Some of you guys are probably more econ minded than I am, so I'm going to just kind of roll with what I know about and what the text tells us about. Some of you guys probably know more about this stuff because it's more of your mindset than mine. Politics and economics, how to pay for government, or should private, okay, sorry. I'm going to get back on track. Politics and economics, how to pay for government, or should the private sector resources be used for things? Should we have, what are the political and economic dimensions? We have things like, you could have a capitalist economy, an economic system where the market determines production, distribution, and price decisions, and property is privately owned. You could also have laissez-faire capitalism, let the people do as they wish. Yes, hi. An economic system where the markets make all the decisions and the government plays no roles. There's really no real world examples of laissez-faire capitalism. Regulated capitalism, a market system where the government intervenes to protect rights and make procedural guarantees. This is like us, like Great Britain. The government provides things like highways and streetlights, libraries, museums, schools. This is generally undertaken by money from taxpayers. There are procedural guarantees that we treat everyone fairly. There are rules that will work smoothly, but we are not promising a particular outcome. Then you have what's called a socialist economy. This is an economic system where the state determines the production, distribution, price decisions, property is government owned. This is like Cuba, North Korea. Loosely based on the ideas of Karl Marx, can also be called communism. There are substantive guarantees here. This is like a government assurance of a particular outcome. We have a procedural guarantee where we guarantee the rules, but we don't guarantee an outcome. Are you saying hi? Social democracies, bye. Social democracy is kind of, socialism, a hybrid system that combines a capitalist economy and a government. All right, I'm going to put you down. And a government that supports equality. This is primary capitalist. Most people believe that property and capitalism can be held privately, and they try to find a balance between substantive guarantees of fair outcome and procedural guarantees of fair rules. Many Western countries elect social democrats to office to enact policies that bring about more equality, eliminate poverty, and better housing, better health care for all. An example of this is Bernie Sanders, of course. Political systems and the concepts of citizenship, this is based on ideas of who should have power and what the social order should be. How much public regulation should there be over individual behavior? The government has power to impose the social order, and individuals exercise personal power over their own behavior. Then an authoritarian government. This is systems where the state holds all the power over the social order. This is like China, North Korea, Cuba, Saudi Arabia. These people have no choice but to submit. You are loud. Sorry, I'll try to fix this next time. The people have no choice but to submit to its will. It can take the form of a dictatorship, where there's one individual in power, or a theocracy where power is vested in God, fascism where the power is vested in the state itself, or oligarchy where power is in the ruling class. Then you have something called totalitarianism. This is a system where absolute power is exercised over every aspect of life. Absolute power corrupts absolutely is the best known quotation from British Lord Acton. And then there's authoritarian capitalism. It's a system where the state allows people economic freedom but maintains stringent social regulations to limit non-economic behavior. In 1994, teenager Michael Fay was sentenced in Singapore he was caught vandalizing a car in Singapore, and he was sentenced to be caned for vandalizing a car. This would be considered cruel and unusual punishment in the United States, but he had no rights in Singapore because they were an authoritarian capitalism. The state allows freedoms but maintains stringent social regulations. Anarchy. Yes, hi. The absence of government and law, that's an anarchy. This is the most extreme form of non-authoritarianism. I was actually talking to my dad about this weekend, based on what kind of happened in DC last week. Do we want this anarchy? Okay, sure, we can say we want an anarchy. Come here. But how do you even organize a revolution to get rid of a government that has no rules? There is no way to actually form a government through anarchy because an anarchy is having no rules, the absence of government and law. Anyway, democracy, obviously, is a government that vests power in the people. The collective life calls for some restrictions on what individuals may do. We prohibit murder, theft, running a stoplight, things like that, but we try to maximize the freedom of individuals. Popular sovereignty, the concept that citizens are the ultimate source of political power. This is what establishes our Constitution. No government is legitimate unless the governed consent to it. And then there's some types of democracy. Okay, so we have the will of the people, of the will of the majority, but what is a majority? 50%, 2/3%, 3/4. Decisions are harder when you have a lot of people who need to agree. An advanced industrial democracy is a system where a democratic government allows citizens a considerable amount of personal freedom and maintains a free market, but usually through unregulated economy. I did not even realize I had coffee on me. Ooh. So I'm a mess this morning, sorry. And then a communist democracy, a utopian system in which property is communally owned and all decisions are made democratically. There's no example of this. It's never really existed. And then the role of the people. You're going to have subjects. You could. These are individuals who submit to a government's authority against which they have no rights. Or you could have citizens like we have, members of a political community with both rights and responsibilities. We are not subjects. We are not obliged to submit to government authority. We are citizens. We have rights and responsibilities. But our American history is full of people fighting back to be included as citizens based on income bracket or race or ethnic group or lifestyle or gender. Just because a government is called a democracy is no guarantee that all or even most of its residents possess the status of citizen. Citizens can usually vote in periodic and free elections. They're able to run for office, subject to rules such as age or residence. They support candidates, organize political groups, attend meetings, march and protest, contact officials or press, and now on the internet. Citizens are obligated to obey the law, to pay taxes, to serve in the military, to sit on juries, but we're offered a lot in that return. So what are some origins of democracy in America? Even in the Athenian democracy, it was pretty selective, ruled by the people, but the people really excluded women and slaves and youth and resident aliens. Honestly, only about 10% of the population was defined as a citizen, which is similar to early American democracy, which was a small number of white men. Something called the divine right of kings can be an example here. The principle that earthly rulers receive their authority from God. Early on, this kind of happened. In the Enlightenment period, science and knowledge blew away the shadows of superstition, and as rational humans realized they can harness the world to do their bidding. The foundation of government is reason, not faith in reason, which leads the consent of government to be governed because they're better off that way. A social contract is a notion that society is based on agreement between a government and the governed, in which people have to agree to give up some rights in exchange for the protection of others. Some Native American nations have what's called like a great law of peace. That's their constitution. It suggests federalism, separation of powers, checks and balances, and consensus building. But American citizenship today comes from our founders. James Madison was a major author of our Constitution. He didn't want a system that was too democratic. If you think about it, you don't want things to be too democratic. You yourself don't want to have to go to Washington, D.C. every time there's a vote, right? Like every time we want to vote to change the name of a post office, you want to elect somebody to do that for you. James Madison didn't want a system that was too democratic, but because the British monarch had become corrupt beyond redemption, America was thought of as a land where virtue could triumph over greed. So we had the Articles of Confederation that remembered rights of citizenship, but ignored the responsibilities that came with it. It canceled debts and worked to the advantage of poor farmers. Madison and Locke thought that government had a duty to protect property, and because of this, Madison ended up rejecting notions of pure democracy, where citizens would have direct power to control government, but instead opted for a republic. A republic is a government where decisions are made through representatives of the people. Just like I said, Madison thought this would be safer than a direct democracy because the representatives would be older, wealthier, wiser, and could make cooler and more rational decisions. Today, there are two competing narratives about what citizenship should mean. In the United States, we have individualistic citizenship, which is a view of citizenship focused on action to realize an individual citizen's interests. As Madison said, too much democracy is bad. And then you have collective citizenship, which is a view of citizenship focused on action to realize the common good. This puts faith in a citizen's ability to act virtuously for the common good. JFK, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. This a lot of times comes about in times of tragedy like 9/11. How do you engage? We talked last class about hashtag activism, the form of political engagement that occurs by organizing individuals online around a particular issue. It's a great way for ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary things and to help determine and shape political narratives. All right, I am going to post this activity that I want you guys to complete just the same way you did your one last time. Again, this is just like a participation thing for me since we can't see each other in person. So what you're going to do is you are going to be forming your own nation. If we were doing this in person, I'd have you guys get in groups and do this, but we're just going to do it. You're your own nation. You have 3 major decisions to make about your founding. What type of government are you going to have? Is it going to be a parliament? Is it a democracy? Is it a monarch? Is it a committee of rulers? What type of economics are you going to have? Is it going to be a capitalist economy, a laissez-faire economy, regulated capitalism, socialist economy, or socialist democracy? And then what sort of political system? Authoritarian government, totalitarian government, authoritarian capitalism, anarchy, or democracy? And then just kind of explain to me why you chose that. I don't want you to spend too much time on this. It can kind of be fun too. I've had people say it can make up your own even. I want to have, be a king who has a totalitarian, I don't know, you can be creative with it and have fun with it, but it's just a good idea for you to think about, if you were founding your own country, how you would do it. Our founders had this blank slate when they came here. And so, they, I think, honestly did really well with the government that they put into place here. But if you were forming your own government, what would it look like? All right, I'm going to post that and this lecture, and hello. I will be back next week. I know it's MLK Day on Monday, so my lectures might be posted on Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm not sure yet. I might try to get one up before that. Don't hold me to it. But we do have 2 lectures next week, Power and Citizenship in American Politics and the Politics of the American Founding. I want us to go ahead and get through both of those next week. If you have any questions, as always, email me at annalyrits@gmail.com, and I will talk to you guys next week. Bye.